If you've got small kids like I do, you probably will do anything you can to get them to eat their vegetables. Chicken nuggets, no problem. Pizza, no problem. Throw some broccoli on the plate, we've got a problem. I was the same way when I was a kid, and growing up, my mother had this great way of trying to get me how to eat my vegetables, specifically Brussels sprouts. Now, as an adult, I'll eat Brussels sprouts all day, but when I was a younger kid, wanted no part of it. However, my mom found a good way to trick me into doing it. You see, I was an athlete, I played basketball, and I was a little bit superstitious, like a lot of athletes are. So she would tell me that for every Brussels sprout that I would eat, that I would make a three-pointer or a jump shot in my next basketball game. Mom, you had something to that. How to eat your vegetables, financial style. Here we go. First, as a financial planner, people ask me all the time about saving money. It seems that that is one of the topics that everyone wants to figure out. How do I can save more money? It's not easy, and I compare it to eating vegetables. It's not something that we necessarily want to do, but it's good for us. So here are some ways that I think you can save money, or at least attempt to save money every year. Number one, at the beginning of every year, evaluate what you spend your money on monthly subscriptions. We subscribe ourselves to death. We have video, online books, Audible books, music, you name it, there's a way to subscribe to it most likely nowadays. Evaluate what you spend on those subscriptions, because it's very easy. When we live in the age of one-click purchasing, you can subscribe for something and you're set on that payment, but you may no longer use that service, yet you're still paying for it. So every year, at least once a year, evaluate what you're spending your money on every month to see if there are services that you're using or that you signed up for that you no longer need or you found you simply don't use. A great example is cable or satellite TV. A lot of cable packages, they go up over time. But if you'll call the provider and tell them that you're thinking about canceling or thinking about reducing your package, or simply asking them, how can I reduce my bill? You may find that they can reduce your payment just because you made a phone call. So that's an easy way to try to save some money. Veggie tip number 2, avoiding lifestyle creep. Now, what is lifestyle creep? Lifestyle creep happens when you get a pay raise, or you get a bonus, or you have payments or cash flow that we're used to going to pay a bill, but that bill gets paid off, like you pay off a car, and all of a sudden you've got extra money and you decide to upgrade your lifestyle instead of making wise financial decisions with that. So at the beginning of this video, I told you I've got 2 small children. Guess what we pay every month? That's right, we pay childcare expenses. And childcare is expensive. My wife and I, we constantly talk about what we're going to do when we no longer have to pay those childcare expenses and our kids are in school. Now, they won't completely go away, but they will be reduced. What we want to do is we want to make sure that money that we've been spending on childcare goes to something that's going to help us reach a financial goal. So for us, one of the things we talk about right now is diverting that extra money into college for our college accounts for our 2 kids, because we know that we want to help them with college. That's the savings goal that we have as a family, and that's one of the things we've thought about doing. So in your household, we want you to think about the same thing. If you're getting ready to have an automobile that's going to be paid off, or you're getting ready to have a loan that's going to be paid off, or you got a bonus coming, the key is deciding in advance what you're going to do, because once you know in advance the decision's been made, you don't have to all of a sudden decide. And it's a lot harder to decide to do something when you finally get the money than if you knew in advance where you were going to spend it. So that's tip number 2 on how to avoid lifestyle creep. Veggie tip number 3. A lot of wealth gurus or personal finance gurus talk about something called the latte factor. What's the latte factor? Well, it's their idea that this key to wealth or wealth accumulation is that all you got to do is cut out your $5 coffee drinks and instead save that money. Well, I disagree with that. And the reason why is if we make ourselves miserable doing anything, we tend not to do that. So, for a lot of people, getting a coffee or a latte or going out and grabbing an ice cream or making sure you go to the movies and have these what we call little simple pleasures in life, that's what makes life enjoyable and meaningful for us. Cutting that stuff out is just going to make us unhappy. Does anybody you know like to do something that makes them unhappy? So the longevity of that plan doesn't really work for us. Instead, we think you should focus on the big purchases, what we call the big three. Those are automobile purchases, home purchases, and your credit card debt. Too much of any of those can really wreck your balance sheet and make it very difficult for you to reach your financial goals. So for instance, USA Today recently published an article that said the average car payment in the United States is now over $550 a month. That doesn't include insurance on that vehicle and taxes on that vehicle. So think about the average car payment being over $550 a month, significantly increased from 3 years prior. So how much coffee will a $550 car payment pay for? So we think that when you're making large purchases, like looking at buying a new vehicle, like possibly buying a new home or moving and purchasing a new home, you have to consider the cost of those purchases because they are the ones that have a much more significant impact on your ability to reach your financial goals than buying a $5 coffee. So those are my 3 tips on how to eat your veggies financial style.